I guess people thought it wasn't a compelling interest. They used that standard to allow some other way to have individuals who wanted to hunt, and I think primarily on their own land, in a peaceful way in Aroostook County. So that's kind of the rest of the story, what I see. And I wish I'd saved all those emails. It's been a great time to hand those out. And please don't ask for a FOIA request, because I'm not, they're somewhere in that computer. But I thank you for listening to me. Listen to the fact that may be a real group of people you're talking about. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from Aroostook, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I just wanted to bring up that as far as, and I hate to probably do this, but as far as the Amish people, I mean, I see them in Aroostook County all the time, and they really are a great culture and something that, you know, we're glad that they're in the state. But, you know, the other flip of that is that, you know, Hindus, Buddhists, and Jainism all believes that there shouldn't be any hunting. So they could argue the same argument that, you know, we shouldn't be hunting at all. So I just think that this is an issue that, you know, we haven't had a problem in the state under our current law, and I don't see any reason to change it at this point.
The chair recognizes the senator from York, Senator Valentino.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, men and women of the Senate, I just wanted to get up to address a couple of points that were being made in the floor speeches today. One was mentioned that the proponents outnumbered the opponents on this during the public hearing. I would say that most of the opponents did get together on this to submit testimony. It was a very long day, but I'd like to just mention some of the people that were opposed to this bill. The Attorney General, the Maine Human Rights Commission, the Maine Mayor's Coalition, Maine Municipal Association, Religious Coalition Against Discrimination, the ACLU, the Coalition for Maine Women, Equality Maine, the Maine AFL-CIO, the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence, the Maine Education Association, the Maine Medical Association, Maine School Management Association, and that's just a few out of the many groups that came to testify. There was a lot of opposition to this bill. The second point I wanted to bring up is that there was mention of the Attorney General and a couple of her comments. I do have her letter that she had submitted before our committee, and I will just read a couple of the things for it. She says, quote, "I am speaking today in my capacity as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the state of Maine. I always say words are important. Every word in a bill, every term in a statute has a meaning. The great danger here is that the law may give special rights to some while infringing on the rights of others. That may be an unintended consequence, but it is a real consequence." She goes on to say, "As a law enforcement officer, I remain most concerned about the bill's effect on criminal cases, but I am also concerned about the enforcement of administrative, civil, and criminal laws, rules, and policies enacted by the legislature. You can pass this law, and it may feel good to pass this law and say that you have stood up for religious freedom, but what you are actually doing may be just the opposite. You may be trampling on the religions and beliefs of many and their right to practice as they believe. You may pass this bill, but there may be a price to pay, an awful price to pay." End quote. And that was from testimony from our Attorney General. The next thing I wanted to address was that we heard that this is a simple message. As you can see, this is not a simple message. If this was a simple message, then all 50 states would have passed this in the last 50 years. And there is not one single incident that has been cited here today on why Maine should pass this bill. What has been discriminated against? Who has been discriminated against? The example that was given, I would also say, on the Amish is that the compelling interest test and the substantial burden, that if we had had this, it would not have given them a right to wear orange. It would have given them a right to go to court. to see whether or not they could, and then they would have the court would have had to balance the compelling interest. And normally, the compelling interest, in whether it places a substantial burden, is more a test if it has to do with health and safety and welfare of a community. They could, even if we had passed this bill, if they had gone to court, it could have been defeated, saying that this was a risk to their safety and others' safety who may accidentally shoot them if they could not be seen, because everybody knows you're supposed to wear orange if you're out hunting in the woods. The other thing I wanted to mention was they were saying about the cases on this. One of the supporters of the bill gave us a wealth of information, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and maybe he didn't know that I would read it all. And I read through all 146 cases, the summaries of all of them, on what really had been filed for cases on religious freedom. And to quote from their testimony, they say that two types of litigation, prisoner litigation and land zoning litigation, appear more frequently than any other type of litigation in which RFRA statutes are applied. For example, in Florida, has had several reported of cases of RFRA since 1998. They've had actually the greatest amount of cases, and only one instance out of the 23 where a state RFRA claim has been won on its merits. The other 22 were all involved prisoner litigation or land and zoning litigation. In Illinois, all of their cases except 4 were defeated under the RFRA statute, and all of those were under zoning litigation or prisoner litigation. In Alabama, all 9 of the cases were filed by prisoners under RFRA. You go through state by state by state, and most of these are all done by prisoners or by churches. One who said that we're in the historical zone, and therefore we can put vinyl siding on even though it's against the policy of the Historical Society, because we are exerting our claims under RFRA that we have a religious right to put vinyl siding on our building. Others have said we have a right to put signs, as many signs as we want, where we want. We have a right to build anywhere we want to. We do not have to follow your zoning ordinances. These are the types of cases, the 146 cases that have gone through, prisoners saying that I need to have a special diet, I need to have a special meal, I need to have a special room to pray in. I can't cut my hair, I can't cut my beard, I need a bathroom facility where I pray at. You go through every single case. These are the types of cases that are going through. But when we look at it, let's look back the 20 years, 146 cases. But what has happened? That comes back to my original testimony. Why this bill now? If it's such a great bill and it doesn't really do, a lot to diminish our rights and discrimination, why didn't we pass it 20 years ago when Bill Cohen and Ted Kennedy and others were standing up there? Because things have changed. We didn't need it, and we don't. But what has happened? 146 cases in 18, 20 years, but 90 cases have been filed last year using RFRA under the Affordable Care Act, saying that you don't want to provide contraception to women. This is what has changed. This is why the ACLU has changed. This is why many people have changed. And they do not support this now. And this is what I'm saying, that we don't need this in Maine. We have strong protections. We have strong anti-discrimination laws. And I would like to end with one of the things that was said in one of the speeches, that they pray that this vote will not follow party lines. I pray that this vote will not follow party lines. I hope all of you will vote ought not to pass. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from Washington, Senator Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I'll try to be very brief. But there's a couple of things I want to mention that I've listened to here today. Many people have tried to make this bill about one particular issue. I don't understand that. be very frank with you, it's not about any one particular group of people. I don't believe that way. I don't act that way. I don't think that way. And the people that I associate with don't think that way. So, whether you believe me or not, I can tell you this is about everybody's rights. And I don't understand why everybody wouldn't want more rights when it comes to their religious freedoms. I really like the example that Senator Johnson used about waving your arms. I think I was taught the exact same way, that it's okay to do that until you start to be infringing on somebody else's rights. So I think that example goes both ways, ladies and gentlemen. The reason that we get along so well in this country, and we do pretty good, considering it's a melting pot, and there's so many different beliefs, so many different faiths, so many different ways of life in this country, we do that hopefully better every year because we do respect each other's personal beliefs. It doesn't matter how much those personal beliefs contradict what I believe. You still have to respect them no matter who they are or where they're coming from. I won't get into specifics. There's no need to. But we have an obligation to respect other people's rights and beliefs. And if we're not going to do that here, I don't know where it will happen. If we're not going to do it in this body or the body down the hall, I don't know where on earth it will happen. If we don't set the example, then who's going to do it? Who's going to do it in our schools? Who's going to do it in our community? If the Maine legislature doesn't see fit to protect everybody's individual rights, especially when it comes to religious rights, then I don't really know who will. Several people have said over and over again, there's no problem. Well, there is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. There's a problem because there's confusion in this state, as there was in other states, about what the standard is that we are to follow here. There's a confusion between the attorneys, the Attorney General, the other experts that spoke, people on our committee, people in the community. The fact is, there is confusion as to what the standard is in this state when somebody's religious rights are allegedly being threatened. We need to clear up that confusion. Why is it necessary for the average citizen to have to take it upon themselves to go out and hire attorneys or to try to get some support group behind them to protect their rights? Why should they have to do that, ladies and gentlemen? I don't understand that. We should make sure that all the standards in this state, as in this country, are very clear, so that when any governing body has an issue come before them, they know clearly what the standards are. Don't subject the average, everyday citizen to having to take it upon themselves to go through the process, to spend money they don't have, maybe to be humiliated, to come forth and say, I'm sorry, this is a violation of my religious rights. Let's have a clear standard in this state like we do in the federal government. And over again, you have been told that this is going to open up the floodgates. It hasn't opened up the floodgates. Look at the history. I don't know about the prisons, what's going on in the prisons, but across this country, since RFRA was established almost 30 years ago, in the 18 states that have adopted it, there has not been a floodgate of litigation. In fact, I would submit that the standard has become clear in those states so that you don't have to worry about that happening. People's rights aren't trampled upon, and when they are, there is a standard for which a governing body can make a clear, decisive decision. I think we're wrong, I think we're remiss if we minimize in any manner, shape, or form the importance of religious liberty and the importance that that has to some people. I don't know about the people that called or emailed, what their motives were, what their understanding of this bill was. I think you could see that on both sides. We all know what happens when people start encouraging people to reach out and support and either support or oppose something. There's always a chance for miscommunication. But I do know that since this country came into existence, there have been people willing to die for their religious liberty, their religious values, so that we can live peacefully in this country. And that's what this is all about. It's something that people hold dearly. It's something that people are willing to stand up for, something that people are willing to die for. I hope we don't minimize it when we cast our vote here today. I think there is confusion. I don't think there's any question. I sat through the hearing just like 12 other people did. There was a lot of confusion as to what our standards here in Maine are. I'm asking us to set a clear set of standards that's not going to protect any one person over the other. A good example, if you take a look at the state of Connecticut, if people want to make this an issue about same-sex marriage or something of that manner, the state of Connecticut has had both of these in place for quite some time now, over 6 years, and there has been no conflict. There will be no conflict here, ladies and gentlemen. I would ask you to consider that carefully. Thank you again for the privilege.
The chair recognizes the senator from Lincoln, Senator Johnson.
I have to rise while we're being asked to consider all of people's rights and what's been fought for over the years, to point out that there are many kinds of rights in this country. Both that to practice religion, to vote, to live, to make decisions about your own body. Many decisions this country has come to in our laws and our amendments to our Constitution that came from struggles. And many of those struggles involved loss of life. So to me, it's very much about what people's rights are and ensuring that we honor all of those rights people hold. I want to leave you with a thought. I heard from a number of clergy of different denominations that contacted me. And what stuck with me the most in one of the comments of a couple of them, and I'll paraphrase what I heard, but in essence they were saying we should not be raising religious beliefs over other rights. We should not be using, and they are adamantly opposed to using religion as a weapon against other people's free exercise of rights that are not based in that particular religion. So for me, it's very much about rights and the struggle for those over the years, and that we uphold in this chamber everyone's rights, that we strive to find the balance instead of giving special privilege to one category. Because it's not especially when it comes to religious rights, it's when it comes to all rights that makes up my mind. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the senator from Waldo, Senator Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a roll call.
The senator from Waldo, Senator Thibodeau, has requested a roll call. In order for the chair to order a roll call, it must have the express desire of 1/5 of the members present. All those in favor of a roll call, please indicate electronically. Obviously, more than 1/5 of the members present are in favor of a roll call. A roll call has been ordered. The pending question before the Senate is the acceptance of the majority ought not to pass report. If you're in favor of the acceptance of majority ought not pass report, you'll vote yes. If you're opposed to the majority report, you will vote no. Is the Senate ready for the question? The doorkeepers will secure the chamber. The secretary will open the vote.